Welcome back to the Mike Kellar Show. This is a spring ball special, the second and final episode. Coach, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Coach, it is called the spring ball special, so we will talk about it. We talked a little bit about it the last time, but this past time you had the spring game, and I put that in very big parentheses.
Yeah.
What was that like? What kind of led you to that decision?
Well, if you look around the country, no one's really even doing a spring game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you watch TV and they're playing touch football. Some places, some aren't even televising anymore because with the portal they don't want their players getting out there. With me, it was really a unique situation because they're doing all the construction on our stadium, and I started thinking like, man, if we bring recruits back, or if we bring signees back or recruits in, and there's a big crane taking down the light pole while practice is going on, which this is all good. It's all
a very good thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great thing. But right now, it's, you got to kind of work around it. And I thought, well, we really could use, I'm a coach, like we had 15 spring practices. And, I mean, if they let me do 15 more, I would do 15 more. So I was like, well, if we get another practice in and work these situations one more time, and then just at the end, make the stuff that we normally do as team, just make it live. That'll make the people who are here, allow them to see some tackling and get an idea who we're going to be. And I just thought it was the best of, all. And I had some coaches that were coming back, and I wanted them to see, the type of practice we run and all that. So that's kind of what led to the decision. Just it was out of necessity. And I'll be honest, after going through it, I was like, man, it was a pretty, it was a pretty cool thing.
It was good, yeah.
It worked out really well.
And then just overall, looking back at the spring, what do you think of the team?
Well, I mean, they grew a lot. We had I don't know how many skills and drills we did starting as early as you could start them. I think back in February, you started your weightlifting at last week in January. This is what I told the team. You guys had all the lifting you could do. We did all the running we were allowed to do. We did all the skills and drills we were allowed to do. I mean, up to the second, and then we had 15 spring practices. We had a spring scrimmage, went to Clarion, traveled, did all that, came back here and hit good on good as much as we were allowed to do it. And, so like I think the team grew as much as it's capable of growing in that time period. Now you're getting to the end of the semester, grades will be coming out. You're constantly looking at your roster and who you will or won't have, off the current roster. And then the summer will be nothing but, recruiting 2025 high school kids, or actually 2026 high school kids, and adding to your roster through the summer portal. So, it's constantly, the calendar used to be a lot simpler than it is now.
And just kind of bouncing around here, the non-conference schedule, we released it about last week. You got three opponents there. Emory and Henry, who you faced last year. You get them at home this year, and you'll go on the road at Lock Haven in a new opponent with Millersville. What do you think of the non-conference, the way it's shaped up?
It's a tough schedule. You got two PSAC East teams there, which, that I was in the Pennsylvania Conference for 10 years, 6 as an assistant and 4 as a head coach. So I know what quality opponent you're going to face there. Emory and Henry, we played a year ago. That's a South Atlantic Conference opponent, and I think they finished second or third in the South Atlantic.
9-2, yeah, they were good.
A year ago, and I knew like a year ago we opened up with them and played Lock Haven in week 2, and those two and probably Charleston and one other team in our league were about as big and physical as anyone we faced. I actually, I didn't starting with a bad record a year ago, but I did like what it did for us come league play. That we'd been through some tough times, and we'd played in some physical ball games, and adding Millersville to that just does another. It's just another one of those deals. Pembroke fell out of the league, and going to Millersville is actually a lot closer than going to Pembroke used to be. So, it is what it is. You want to play 11. We could have decided to play 10, but. Football is one of the weird sports where, you practice 52 weeks in a year, you practice 40 of them to play 11. It's a weird deal. So, I wanted to play as many games as we're capable of playing.
And then shifting to the conference slate, when you look at your first 3 games, 3 of the top 4, counting yourself, teams in the league from last year, Charleston at home, Fairmont State at home, and then Frostburg State, and then you'll hit Concord, West Liberty, West Virginia State, Wheeling, and then Wesleyan to end the year. When you look at the schedule, and especially those first 3 weeks, how do you like the way it's shaped up?
I don't like it at all.
I was expecting that answer.
Yeah, it's just it's a good league. When I played here, and then when Coach Rodriguez was here, and then when I was an assistant as a younger coach this league, there were really 2 teams that had a chance, maybe 3 on a good year that had a chance of winning the league, and then there was 3 teams that everybody beat, and then there was 3 or 4 teams that were in the middle of the league. It's not like that anymore. If you really look at it, probably 80% of our league has a chance of winning the league, and so what's that mean is like when, I used to say when I was at Cal, as long as we don't wreck the bus on the way to the game, or the coin toss is about the only thing we had a chance of losing on most of the games. Now every week it comes down to a final possession, and you got to be on your P's and Q's that week. So the good news is there's not a team on our schedule that we cannot beat. The bad news is there's not a team on our schedule that cannot beat us. So it's just a matter of getting your team prepared, and ready for battle week in, week out.
And shifting from the schedule now to roster coaching stuff, you had a new coach here in the offseason, Jack Hoffman. He was a student assistant at SMU. What do you like about the hire there?
Well, Garen Justice is a good friend of mine. He's the O-line coach there, and people may or may not. Garen and I coached at Concord for 2 years. I hired him to be our line coach when I was there, and it couldn't have went any better. I mean, he was a home run hire from day one. Then he succeeded me as the head coach there, and then has went on and had a great career. He's in Division I now, and their last game was a loss at Penn State in the playoffs, so he's doing a great job. Well, he called and said they had a kid who was graduating, and they wanted to help him get a GA, but they thought he needed to go somewhere and do some more coaching, and if he was willing to come to Glenville and work, and then he would find out how much he loved the ball and all that. And on my end, I was getting a guy who was at SMU, who understood what they were doing, who had coached with Garen, and we don't have enough help. And Eddie Williams, who had been great for us, had retired, and I had a little part-time job opening there, and I went to our athletic director and got the whole thing, okayed, and we were able to bring Jack in, and he volunteered for us in the spring, and we'll be, moving into a part-time role in the fall, and he's knocked it out of the park. I mean, he's been great for us. He's helped us with portal kids. He's working with tackles and tight ends, mainly tight ends. But as soon as them tight ends come down to work on the pass game, he stays down there with Coach Harmer and works on O-line play. And he's been an assistant to Coach Harmer, who's our O-line coach, who I've promoted to offensive coordinator and all that. So he's been a really good hire for us. He's helped us a lot. And I would like to add a similar position on the defensive side of the ball. It's just a matter of getting everything lined up that you need to get lined up to make it work.
And now moving on to the roster, I mean, it's completely different now than what it was even a year ago. You could probably look at the portal, and there's more kids in the spring portal than there was in the winter portal. When you and your staff look at this, how do you plan on attacking that? What's the plan there?
Yeah, we just pray a lot, to be quite honest. I mean, it's crazy, I got a lot of Division I buddies, and they give me heads up on what kids are going to be, and I get about a 5-hour head start on some of this, and I'm behind, so you
can never catch up.
No, you cannot. There's the beautiful thing about it from a coach's standpoint is there's more good players in there than there are scholarships to give. The negative thing about it is for the kids who are going in there, they all think they're leaving whatever school they're at and going to go to Ohio State or Alabama on an NIL deal, and probably 98% of them don't get anything nowhere near that, and another 5% get something salvageable, and there's a great percentage of the kids who don't get a thing. So right now it's a matter of you're constantly squaring your roster up with what's out there. I mean, you and I were going to do this at 2:30. It was 2:28 when I put it away, and I guarantee you that I don't know what I'm talking about right now. 20 minutes later. So it's just it's good. You could add talent to it. The bad news is your opponents could add talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be who could get that talent acclimated into a team. Even if you sign them all, it doesn't mean anything. Can you turn those guys into a team in time to play and win ball games? That's what matters.
And a few weeks ago when we talked to you as well, you said that you felt that you guys just overall looked bigger, stronger, better than what you've really ever been. Now you get the spring done. You have a chance to add more in the summer. How do you feel with your roster as you head into the 2025 season?
Yeah, I'm happy with all that. They passed the eyeball test. But, I mean, I got some guys at some key positions who, when you test them and they run, jump, and do that as high as anyone we've had. Their height, weight is as good as anyone we've had, but they're not as productive yet. So, the running joke on the staff is everyone gets a hat and a whistle for a reason. So we got to coach them up. We got to get them acclimated. Right now I tell them all the time, you're just a bunch of guys wearing the same uniform. You're not a team yet. So we need, we needed every one of those practices in the spring. And, today we did the fall calendar and everything we're going to do for that. And we've had it done, but we kind of dotted the I's and crossed the T's so we could get it out to the team. And we're going to need every one of those, and then, your week one opponent, week two, so on and so forth. It's all, I used to say they were coaching cliches, but really those sayings have been around for a long time because they're true as true can be.
And you mentioned the height, the weights, but just not being as productive yet. How do you try to differentiate in being a developmental program, but also bringing guys in? Because you want to win now. You just finished second last year. So how do you differentiate that?
Well, it's kind of, to me, I don't. I mean, the alumni and administration and all the fans, they all think it's just plug and play. To me, it's always been about, turning that guy into the best player he can be. A good coach makes the player the best that player can be. He can't make that player better than God or his mom and dad made him. You know, it's just he gets as much out of his potential as he can, and he fits him in a scheme. He gives. I tell all the recruits, my job's to be dad. I make sure you got a good weight program. I make sure you got a good academic support program. I make sure we got good schemes, and then I chew you or smack you on the butt if you don't do things, just like my dad did. You know, but at the end of the day, I don't take a test for you. I don't go in the weight room and lift for you, and I don't go in that field. If you don't have a little something to you, then we're not going to get anywhere. Now, you know, it's my job to coach them and motivate them. I get all that. But at the end of the day, you know, it's always been about getting the most out of the players and making them fit into a team and getting the team to understand that it's a total team game.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you calling today, and I'm sure we'll talk to you here in the summer after some more portal additions.
I'll guarantee you on that.
Thanks, Coach.
We'll be talking. Thank you.